Loot boxes, loot crates, player packs, and more. They might seem like fun to buy and open, but are they dangerous? These days, it seems like every game has some type of loot box, crate, or pack for players to buy and open. These crates give players the chance to receive a random reward. It's usually something cosmetic or something to help the player in-game. They're random and fun, but they can also be very expensive. Some researchers even say they can be addictive. Yup, you heard me. Some experts say loot boxes are trouble. They say loot crates look and feel a lot like a slot machine that you might see at a casino. Wait, what? Are loot crates kind of like a kid version of gambling? Let's find out. I sat down with Dr. James Close. He's a senior researcher who just published a report on the link between gambling and loot boxes. So Dr. Close, some of your research shows that a large number of children, like children around my age or younger, have been opening and buying loot boxes. What makes loot boxes so appealing to gamers?
Well, we did a lot of interviews with gamers. We did a series of interviews with gamers all over our country. Our work was focused on the UK, so we interviewed gamers of all ages. People weren't just buying them for any single reason. They might be buying them for gameplay advantages. They might be buying them for the cosmetics, but often there was this big social element to it. So it was about having that great player that you could then have the bragging rights, a bit like having the great sneakers on the playground where you could show off to your mates that you had something really cool. But there's also another tranche of motivations which were possibly a little bit more sinister and subtle, in that there was a lot of sort of things nudging people towards buying loot boxes, and part of that was that variable kind of element, that it was exciting, the thrill, the fun of it, and that then starts to become a little bit gambling-like in its element.
Where is the line? Like, are people even concerned about video games and that correlation to gambling?
First of all, yes, where's the line? That's a really good question. And that there's been a huge amount of sort of very complex legal debate about this, because yeah, you're right, they look and feel very much like gambling, and in fact they are structurally very much like gambling in many ways. You buy something, you lay down a stake, there's a variable kind of random bit, and then you may or may not get a prize you want out at the end.
So I have a fact here, let me read it to you. The Entertainment Software Ratings Board has added labeling that says in-game purchases includes random items. So basically what that is beside your big loot box that says you have a 25% higher chance of getting the next coolest dragon sword, there's a small little box that says whatever's inside here includes or is randomized. The items inside this box are randomized. Is that enough?
I would say not at all. Do you pay attention to the ESRB ratings?
Well, it is there, so I do read it sometimes, but not necessarily, no. It's not going to stop me from buying this loot box.
Yeah, well, I mean, very few children in particular who pay attention to the ESRB ratings. Even most parents don't pay attention to them either. So I don't think that's going to do enough at all. I think they're largely ignored, and there's evidence that they're largely ignored by the majority of people. So it's not going to change anyone's behavior.
When reporting on any news story, it's important to show all sides. That's why I reached out to two groups who don't think it's fair to say that loot boxes are like gambling. They were the Entertainment Software Rating Board and the Entertainment Software Association of Canada. Neither of them got back to me. What steps could be taken to prevent gambling in video games from happening?
What could be done to stop it? Well, I think there's a big call in this country, certainly, and I'm sure well, certainly in America and probably Canada are talking about it as well, as whether to regulate loot boxes as gambling. You just say, look, these are gambling. They're very much like gambling. The only difference is that you don't win money, you just win a digital prize, which actually most people prize and want. So how's that different to money? So you could regulate them as gambling. It is the obvious step that a lot of people are starting to talk about.
Well, it seems like the debate over loot boxes will continue to happen. While gamers in Canada can use loot boxes, some countries have actually banned them, like Belgium. So do you think it's a form of gambling or not? Do you think loot boxes should be banned in Canada too? Let me know by messaging me at cbckidsnews@cbc.ca. Until the next Game On, I'm Elijah Sandiford. Peace.